American architect critic Herbert Marsham has said, "Building does not have to be an important work of architecture to become a first-rate landmark. The essential feature really matters not its design, but the place it holds in the city's memory." And this helps explain the value of the historic buildings on the courthouse square. I collected information from the Western Illinois Museum and sources in the WIU library. There's more history to the square than meets the eye. Today I will discuss the buildings that make up the west, south, east, and north side of the square and what they have come to today. First thing we'll discuss is the West Side Square. The West Side Square holds buildings such as Advanced Rehab and Lee's Diner. Henry Zirin put his name front and center, and as shown here, his name was set in stone and is still there today. He was a trendsetter for the building straight across from him, also put their name on their building. And Zirin was the owner of a restaurant called the Zirin Roof Garden with the slogan "Where the Sky Begins." It's a magical place for the time, for there's many bands that played there and music filled the night air. Next is Louis Diner. Although it seems like an ordinary building, there's a ton of history in this building. According to Louis Luke of Western Illinois Museum, titled "The Historic Courthouse Square" from 2012, was home to the first city offices, library, fire department, police department, and the city jail. One of the most tragic stories of Macomb happened here in the alleyway. 3 officers were killed in their line of duty from a criminal that was armed. There's a plaque there in the alleyway today in remembrance of those that died in their line of duty. Southside Square is next, which holds Chick's and the Terrell Title Building. Before Chick's came in use, many uses for that 120-year-old building. Macomb Clinic was the first. Has 22 rooms and polished hardwood floors. Next was the Cynic's Pharmacy, which was there from 1950 to 1990. Terrell Title Building was a 3-story brick building, which is one of the oldest in the square. It used to be a hardware store, which was perfect for Macomb in the 1860s for a railroad system was just built, and the economy was booming. History has repeated itself, for back then the lot next to it was empty, where he sold farm equipment, and as shown here, and today is also empty from the fire of 2010. On the east side of the square is many huge buildings that have a lot of history behind them. First is the Masonic Temple Building, which is a 4-story building, and it was one of the tallest at the time. Its use was for stores at the bottom and offices at the beginning, or at the top. Masons, they moved from locations all across the square, but they finally settled and made their own building that fit their needs. It's covered in stucco as shown and has a large Masonic symbol at the top. Next is the Randolph House Hotel, which had an elegance unheard of for Macomb, according to John E. Hawash, titled "Pictorial History of Macomb in 1989. Bellboys carried luggage and there was a carriage shuttle. Lincoln had 2 campaigns, stayed here twice during his campaign. There's 2 plaques that show this, and there's a cement stump that marks the entrance. Wellworth store, once the hotel went out of business, took over. We destroyed half the building, so what we see today is only half of what it used to be, as shown. Next is the West Central Illinois Art Center, which was built for the Masons. Once the Masons moved out, it became a wine department store. In the mid-20th century, it had a metal covering, which was modern for the time. 5 years ago, the Art Center bought the building, and they took the metal covering off. And as you see here, you can see the logo of the store that has been preserved all this time. Next is the Century 21 building. It was the first courthouse built of logs, and its location was also Union National Bank for 80 years. It was very unique because it has white bedrock limestone and has large columns on the outside. And the interior is also unique, for it has marble desks, mahogany, wood, and the 1930s memorials were painted, which represented agriculture, industrial, and medical activities in the town. And lastly, the north side of the square, which is next to Chandler Park, According to WesternIllinoisMuseum.org, July 1st, 2013, titled Courthouse Square Walking Tour Guide, there was a pharmacy here for 118 years continuously, which is the longest continuous business in Macomb. Even though it's under different names, it's still the same business. It's currently the Country Financial Building, and even though the bottom is different, the top is what it was before. Today I discussed the south, east, west, and north side of the square, as more history than meets the eye. In conclusion, in words of Herbert Muschamp, essential features of a landmark are not its design, but the place it holds in the city's memory.